Okay, I've got two books to talk to you about today. And one of the things I've been thinking about with respect to young adult literature is that it's changed from when I was a kid. The authors are so much better. The quality of these books rivals the books on the other bookshelves in the bookstore, which is a great thing. Second is these authors are tackling serious issues, and I think that a lot of times middle school kids, even high school kids, may not have the maturity to understand things that they see on a screen, that they see on the news, or scrolling through whatever social media feed that they may be looking at. But if they're reading a story, if they're reading good literature, then suddenly these issues become real. And so these two books today fit that description. First one is this, Ghost Boys by Jewell Parker Rhodes. This is a really great book. It's aimed at kids middle school. It would be totally appropriate, even probably fifth grade if they're ready to understand this. Jerome is a 12-year-old black boy who is, in the opening paragraphs, who is shot by a white police officer. This is obviously an issue that's been in the news. And what's interesting about this book is that we follow Jerome on two parallel narratives, kind of. One that leads up to the shooting, so we see what his daily life is like. We meet his parents. We see that this is a struggling family. We see that Jerome is having trouble at school because he's being bullied, stuff like that. And then the other narrative, which is kind of told, in alternating sections, the other narrative begins with that tragedy and follows Jerome as a ghost. First, as he's looking at the impact that this death has on his own family, but even more interesting than that, he meets the daughter of the police officer who killed him, a girl who is his age, and he's able to talk to her, and the two of them kind of help to heal each other, which is a really cool thing. So it's called Ghost Boys because also kind of looming in the background are ghosts of other black boys who met their death at the hands of violence like this. And the one boy that he speaks to, the one of the ghost boys, is Emmett Till. Emmett Till's a boy whose name has largely been forgotten, although recently with this emphasis on police violence, his name has come back up again. And Emmett Till's a boy who should not be forgotten. So anyway, Ghost Boys, great book. I recommend it for anybody fifth grade or up. Okay, so here's my next book, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This book is awesome. I loved this book. One of the best books I've read in a really long time. And I know that that there's a movie coming out next week, something, which is, on the one hand, is great because it's gonna bring this story to a much wider audience. But I always get a little bit sad because I think that there's going to be people who will see the movie instead of reading the book, and you need to read this book. The main character is a girl named Star. She's 16, and you need to, the movie will show you Star and her story, but you won't know Star unless you read this book. She's got a lot going on. One of her childhood friends is killed by a police officer early on, and that's what begins the narrative. And but again, what's great is that it's a complicated story. It's not just there's nothing simple in these books. And Star's got a lot going on. For instance, she has a white boyfriend, and that complicates the way that she sees things and the way that she reacts to things. She cannot see the world simply in terms of black and white because of that. And this is such a well-written book. Now, I would recommend this for mature middle schoolers, high school for sure. The one thing about this is that there's a lot of profanity. There's profanity, and if your child goes to middle school, there's nothing that he or she hasn't heard in here. But I could see some people being concerned about that. But Don't let it scare you away. I would, my 8th grade daughter, I would totally recommend that she read this book. It's a great book, The Hate You Give. Once again, Ghost Boys, Jewell Parker Rhodes, The Hate You Give, Angie Thomas, 2 great books. Read them.